Yeah, I mean, we were going to do this last activity, but I just thought maybe we could go around the room or something, or people would just say they've had some ideas around any of this. I mean, I think we've heard loads today. Yeah, there's a lot to digest. I mean, I need to go back and look at everything. But as I said, all the slides are going to be available, the videos are going to be available. But some questions, people. Do you think it makes sense to bring these communities together? I mean, maybe today, if we've not nothing, maybe we can go and say, well, at least it doesn't work, so at least we know that. I mean, maybe you think that. Or if you think maybe it does work, then, hopefully you do. What can they work on together? Where is the potential impact? And do you have any ideas for the next steps, really? So, I don't know if anybody wants to, Bernard's come up with some ideas. Does anyone want to kick off? And any thoughts? Christoph?
Yeah, I think maybe, as I said towards the end of my talk, to really look for some easy wins. Mm-hmm. Not think of like a 5-year plan, so to say, and what we can do, but say, as a next step, have people create one chapter in the workbook or handbook, or actually come up with design for one simple app, something that you could do based on existing technologies, existing know-how, and just start going from there. My experience, because we were talking about building communities, is that communities work best once we actually have collaborated on something. Because right now we're at the stage of communication. Everybody's sharing, so there's you and there's me, and you tell me what you're doing, and I'm telling you what I'm doing. But the really interesting thing only happens when people really start to get it. We are doing something together. Yeah. I think that's the next step in some sense.
Yes.
I was just going to say, actually, the point that you made today when we were having that chat, and you said, there's lots of things that make things happen and develop when you say this. You said, but actually, it was just by having a group of people getting together and then having the hope and deciding that they were going to do something, and then people find solutions. And I thought it was really nice because such a variety of different areas here of things. It makes for just so many different potential things you could try, and it's not like it's a really incredibly diverse set of things. So I think it's just really full of opportunities for people to try stuff out, and some may not work, some may work. So that's really exciting, I think.
Since I've been coming, I was part of the book split, so I was there from the beginning, and I represent the big bad horrible corporations. But since I've been joining this community that you have helped develop, Stefan and Matthew and I have just come up with a solution to be able to find an umbrella to share data sets and information under the W3C community group, which I lead. They came up with a proposal. It was perfect. I represented it to the W3C. We'll formalize it in the next couple of weeks. Not only that, Matthew has come up to me with the possible partnership of putting together a prototype or a POC around employability. Now, this is a mashup of 3 different data sets that goes perfectly with what Pearson does, with Pearson View, in providing qualifications. So that's not what I'm saying is that this community already is thinking outside of the box of waiting for a government grant or waiting for some other way of getting money, but getting creative about the partnerships with the people in this room. So I wanted to thank you for this community and give you more fodder to say it actually is working.
I mean, I think Steve raised some really interesting points about working with commercial people this morning, actually. Just about how, there was this kind of sense that, we're a bit like, we can't do that. But actually, in different countries, it works the only way, and you need to think, what can we get out of it? How can we manipulate that relationship? So maybe it's thinking more about that sort of thing. Okay.
Yeah, I'm involved in organising the Wikimania conference as well. So that's going to be around the 7th of September. One of the things, two of the things we're doing is we're having events before that. One specifically on open data. There's more. One in open data, which is going to be on the 5th and 6th of July. Before that, there's going to be a future of education one on the 1st and 22nd of June. And we've got another one on open scholarship, which all kind of, that's on the 18th and 19th. July. It's all on the Wikimania 2014 website, and you can sign up for these 3 events as well. One of the things that we're very conscious about is, first of all, these different streams all interact, and that's part of it. But also, by providing these events beforehand, it means that instead of arriving at a conference with maybe a couple of thousand people in the planet, well, where am I? You know, how do I meet people I want to meet? We want to help to enable that sense of community to develop beforehand. So, you know, please have a look at the Lithuanian and shooting website. You can actually comment along one of the pre-events. Just book up.
Yeah, just wanted to summarize actually what I think, which has already been expressed in many ways around here, which is, I think this is great to have this sort of meeting, it's very interesting, but somehow I will go with Christoph, which is now we have to do stuff, because it's clear from all the discussion that one of the things we know, a lot of the quick win you mentioned, there are things that exist outside the developing world. There are, you know, when my son goes to the swimming pool, he has actually all these tools you were mentioning for his swimming pool lesson. So the question is, why are these not adopted in developing world? Why is it that it's not going there? Why is it that we don't have the impact for all these technologies and all the open data that we create around here, don't have this impact there, while it looks like it is a place where open education and open data in education should have an impact. So my impression is, it's great to start with a meeting like this one, where we all sit down in London and think about the big issues, but I think the direct direction we should take is let's start doing stuff, experimenting what is it that is going to work. So Maddie mentioned the group, and it is exactly a good start. Let's do one thing like this, let's do the Unbook. Mayeke mentioned the open census. Let's have an open census in open data for education. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter, at least we have done something.
Yes.
We have grounded our stuff onto something.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea also to look at what exists. For instance, I can tell you that what we have, for instance, in Brazil is far more advanced at some points than what we do in Germany. It's so incredibly, insane that you look at, for instance, what they do in terms of opening up data, and they have more complete data sets, they are more available, and they have more hackathons that they organized in the past, So sometimes I think it could be a little bit about also looking at these solutions and maybe figure out how we can turn them sustainable. Because, for instance, they even created, for instance, applications that evaluate schools and make parents interact with these data, somehow in order to analyze what is important for me and my child and where should I send my child to and so on. And I think instead of reinventing stuff, we could look at these applications and then help them to become sustainable or help them to be used in other countries, or even sometimes maybe back imports in here to Europe. I think this would be a good idea.
Yes, to build upon what's being said is also that, we can have these stories happening also regionally, because there are in many parts of the world, perhaps kind of specializing in the Middle East and Eastern Europe, but specifically in the Middle East, women, for instance, are not always allowed to travel abroad for various set of reasons, but which means that we're the fact that we're doing that kind of events, conventions, etc., outside of the region is really preventing a lot of people to join, not just for legal issues like visa or anything, but also for traditional issues. And on a different note, we also have Togo has absolutely crazy Fab Lab, which deals entirely with recycled material. So the electronic trash that we're sending to Africa is basically being entirely recycled there, and they actually build stuff with just trash, electronic trash. And this is the kind of things that we hear really very rarely hear about. So I heard about this because I know some of the people and they speak French. completely random things. But these are also the kind of things that we, to build upon what Daniela mentioned, is to retranspose and to take back actually the very inventive and creative things that are being done elsewhere in the global south at large, and to bring them back here. Because even if we have a lot of infrastructure and they don't, they have ways of circumventing this complete lack of many things actually, that we have completely lost out of sight, but which can be actually very relevant, right?
Yeah, maybe just to add, I once tried to explain why I think that these solutions are sometimes more creative there. And I think it is because internet came to these countries when it was already internet 2.0. So sometimes when you look on some application that, for instance, the German government is building in order to inform their parents about schools or so on, it's so old stuff, old-fashioned, it's not usable and so on. And so when you look, there's a complete other understanding, also more collaborative, more comments, more possibilities to interact. And this is, I think, because like the wave of internet came later, you know, and so sometimes things are different and things can be more advanced.
Or just made out of cheaper stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because this there, if you don't have electricity to, you know, at home, where do you want to charge this? You know, it's kind of whatever. Just a gadget.
Yeah.
I mean, even for me, it's just a gadget because it's much more output oriented. This is also something that we shouldn't, you know, I mean, there has been a lot of workarounds, tablets and mobile devices for education. And this is kind of like the basic outcome of that kind of work is that you can do a lot of things, but this is mainly an outcome-oriented object. It's not an input-oriented. I cannot do programming here, you know, the way I would do it on a computer. So this is also a way that device actually really shoehorn, limit, and really redefine what we can teach. So. And most of the stuff that's being done around ICT in education is about building apps and, you know, putting up a website. Yeah, great. It can have a very nice idea behind, but the website or the application is not the aim. And what happens and everything that comes out of developing world, the so-called developing world, shows that this is just a means, and sometimes it's a very inappropriate means to achieve things. So this is something I think we can really kind of work around, because there are like 1 zillion experts here and really amazing diversity of people with very different backgrounds that can actually be very strongly pushing for, you know, let's stop with the first world approach of things in a way. So yeah, that's I think.
I mean, it's hard though, because you have those shackles of being lost. I mean, from my perspective, it's not my background in development. You have to lose so much to try and that's difficult, I think.
Because I would even argue that your notion of what programming is tied to programming 1.0, and that means sitting in front of a computer and sitting like that. I mean, there's for tablets, especially for children, there are amazingly creative ways to do that with building blocks and multimedia and animation, which is programming. It's just not programming the way that I learned at university. Yeah. So I even think that's kind of like the same. That's the mindset thing, you know. I don't want to compare you to the German government by no means, but I'm just saying, and that's not my regular thing. But I think we really have to, you know, it's the most overused term in all these discussions beside context. We have to really rethink those things.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, it's amazingly creative what you can do with that. I mean, I've got audio, I've got video, I've got photos, and I'm connected to the internet, and this is so small, it's portable, you know. You can do a billion amazing things, yeah? So I think, again, it's about rethinking what do you see as programming and so on. And the last thing we wanted to say is what you mentioned about, it's not about the website, is from a journalist from the US that recently had heard this really nice comment, which is, these days writing a book is not about the artifact of having a book, but about the process of writing the book. You know, you get in contact with so many people, you build a network, you build expertise, you're perceived as an expert, And I think also when it comes to websites or learning or whatnot, I think it is very much about the process of actually dealing with those things rather than And again, it doesn't matter whether it's an animation or website, an app or something. You can do a lot of creative things, and again, we just have to rethink that a little bit as well.
Yeah, my point was only to say that, we have it every day happening. That people will just put up there a platform and say, here,
Right.
here solve everything, more or less.
And that doesn't work or what?
I'm going to let Stefan have a go. This is but just before, in case people are going to leave, don't forget that we're going to the pub. Really good to see you if we can. But, yeah.
Yes, so before heading to the pub, I actually just wanted to reinforce a bit of what Christoph said at the beginning and what you also reinforced already to some extent. I think it's a very important point. I mean, it's very nice to have these kind of events, but I think what is the problem with these kind of workshops or tutorials is really that it serves very nicely to basically tease into different kind of topics, make people actually interested, really the persistent actually collaboration and really persistent in building up communities works much, much better if you really have a concrete project to actually run it. I think that's probably also a very nice direction for the working groups, for the open education working group as well as for the
Let's come up with something.
to actually really design some kind of mini projects and not really build the communities around the topics, but actually build them around things. I mean, really data sets, schemas, applications, whatever. I think that's probably a very nice direction also to take away.
Can I just one small thing, because I just remembered it, and I think what Stefan is saying is completely right, and what you're saying is completely right as well. We want to do concrete stuff, but actually we are not in the context and we don't understand the context. I can't remember the exact name, but it reminds me of a recent hackathon, which I think was called The End of the World hackathon, which is basically, the basic assumption was, or the basic description was, let's assume it's the apocalypse. Every infrastructure has collapsed. We have absolutely nothing. What do we do? How do we act? What do we create to make that our own death more bearable? Maybe this is what we need. Maybe we need to start creating something, but putting ourselves truly in the shoes of the ones who are going to use it, and start grounding all our assumptions into the real environment. We can't create a real environment in this room, but we can try to simulate it and start adding things that are developed with the constraints of the real application.
So Mathieu, are you saying that the next meetup is going to be in Haiti? For us? I mean, that's pretty close to the apocalypse from a...
It's nice even fun, but...
That's already been quite a bit documented, because there was NASA SpaceX challenges last year.
Right.
And I remember I led the citizen science work group, which was on off the grid. Imagine tomorrow you land on Mars. How do you do? And it looked like very simple from the beginning. It was a nightmare. I mean, I'm still like having at home the presentations and everything, like huge sheets of paper, because you think in terms of the very stupid thing, how you isolate wires.
Well, I don't think that's what he was talking about.
But this is the kind
I
of
think he's
thing.
talking about users.
But
So that there's nobody on Mars. I mean, and I think what you're talking about, we just go and talk to and understand what's needed, and not really, I mean.
Yeah, but I think it relates. It's
the off-the-grid concept.
we should not talk about the user environment as a theoretical or hypothetical environment.
Okay.
It should be something it should be something we experience as we develop the technology.
And I think that people they want to check, like they want to find the problem that they think they have. And I think it will be very difficult to work with people there. Being students, being people maybe interested in being involved as well. But I think it will be very critical to work with people there. They're the ones who are going to come up with a sustainable solution. They're going to have critical role in that.